Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. It's Friday today. It's the Times Crossword Championship tomorrow, so both Mark and I are going to try our hands at that. Mark will probably be very hopeful of winning it. I will be hopeful of the top 24 type position, so we'll let you know how we get on. And today I've been waiting a long time to try this puzzle because I needed a long window to record this video, or I suspect I will anyway. This is a puzzle by the puzzle constructor Laura Solar, whose puzzles are extremely interesting and normally very difficult. She's a brilliant logician, and I don't think I'm going to be breaking too many confidences by telling you that one of the ways that we try and decide which puzzles to do on the channel is that one or other, Mark or I, will test solve the puzzle and then say, yeah, this one's fine, you can do this, it's, you know, it should be a 15-20 minute video type thing, without therefore giving away any hints on how to solve the puzzle. So what you guys get to see is us doing it live. Now, Mark has had 2 goes at this puzzle and has not solved it yet. He says it's monstrously difficult, and therefore I've allowed myself a good hour here. I don't know how long the video will be, but I suspect it may be a long one. But each week we do try and do at least one puzzle which is very, very hard and stretches us. And that's to cater for the sort of top end of our audience who really like the hard stuff. And also, a lot of you guys, I know, if you're not sort of yet used to brutally hard puzzles, you like seeing the logic talk through, and that's certainly what I'm going to probably have to do today. So, what is this puzzle about? It looks... what are these numbers outside the grid? Well, this is a totally new type of puzzle to me. It's called a hidden skyscraper Sudoku. And what this means, what these numbers outside the grid represent, is the first hidden skyscraper from each direction. Now you may say, well, what on earth does that mean? And it's a very good question. Let's use this 5 as an example. In skyscrapers puzzles, high numbers represent the highest skyscraper. So the highest skyscraper would be a 9. This would be the tallest tower from this direction. Now, what if we've got a 5 clue outside the grid? That's saying that the first hidden skyscraper from this direction would be a 5. So this would be a possible arrangement of this column of the grid, because the 6 would be slightly lower than the 7, would be slightly lower than the 8, slightly lower than the 9, and then if we were looking from this direction we wouldn't be able to see the 5 because the 9 would obscure it. But every other skyscraper we could see. We could see the 6, we could see the 7, we could see the 8, we could see the 9, but we wouldn't see the 5. So the first hidden skyscraper from this direction would be the 5, and that's what this 5 clue is telling us. Now, that's all we get, and I have to say, I'm slightly nervous about this because I have absolutely no clue how to even start this puzzle. As I was typing it into the software, I was sort of trying to, turn it over in my brain, and I wasn't getting very far. But if you want to try the puzzle, I do recommend it, then click on the link under the video. That'll take you to our software where you should see something very similar to what I've got on my screen. Now, let me think about how to do this. Let's look at this 7. Can we use... I see this is the only 7 in the grid. So that's saying the first hidden skyscraper from this direction is a 7. So before the 7, there's going to have to be an 8 or a 9. And the numbers will have to... So how could this look? It could be something like that. That would be possible, but... so would that, so would that. These are all possible configurations. There's no reason the 7 has to go there. In fact, maybe that's how I need to think about this. How far away could the 7 be from... what's the maximum? It could be... well, the 5 is going to restrict things as well. And the 5 on the other side, this doesn't quite work, does it? Because but it doesn't have to be far from that. It could be oh no, it could be 8, 7, something like that. Does that work? No, I have to switch. No, that doesn't work actually. There's something going on with the 7 and the 8. But I don't really see how to make that into logic I can use. I mean, I could still have the 7 here very, very easily. Or indeed here. I mean, the 7 could be here if this is an 8 or a 9. We have to use the... Maybe... now all of the corners, look, have got the same digit. 1, 2 at the corners. Does that matter? Let's think about that. So... the first skyscraper that's hidden from this direction is a 1. So that means this digit here can be anything. It doesn't matter at all. That could be a 4. And doesn't even tell us anything about the 2, because the 2 could be sort of there. And the 1, I mean, the 1 doesn't even have to be here. It could be... oh, this is really... This might be a bit embarrassing, I think. How on earth do you even start this puzzle? Normal skyscrapers puzzles, the clues outside the grid tell you the number of skyscrapers you could see. So that's really unique. If it was that sort of thing, that would be really useful, because here we could say, okay, this 1 would mean we could only see 1 skyscraper from this direction, so that square would have to be a 9. And obviously... but this first hidden skyscraper stuff is really not intuitive at all. This must be the first video we've ever done where 7 minutes in I've not even pencil marked anything. Maybe I look at the... now this column has the same digit as the first hidden skyscraper. So can we use it? Can we tell anything about that? I'm just going to fill in some numbers here to try and 2, 3, 8. No, 6. All right, 6, 7, 4, 5, 8. So that would have to look like that. But there's no reason that this 4 has to be in this position. This 4 could be as far up as here, just by me switching the digits around. I could just go 8, 9, 4, and that, I think that still works, doesn't it? Yes, that's the first hidden digit from hidden skyscraper from this direction, and from here. Oh goodness me. Don't. Maybe I need to look at the interaction. Let's just do that again. Let's do it from this side this time. 3, 4, no, 5, 4. Now this would have to be 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me just check whether these clues on the right restrict this anyhow. That... 1 here. And now, okay, yeah, sorry, there is a little thing we can do. I'm not sure if it's going to be helpful, but if we think about, if we know that there is a 4 is the first hidden skyscraper from both ends of this row, then is it true that the 1 must always be here or here? I think it is true, because otherwise the 1 will be the first hidden skyscraper. So let's just check that. Is that right? So if It is right, isn't it? It just is. It's axiomatic. I mean, if I try and put a 1 here, it will always be the first hidden skyscraper. There's no way of making the 4 a first hidden skyscraper from both directions if the 1 is not the first position. So there must be a 1 in one of those positions. Now, can we limit the 1? Now that's still quite possible. This could still be a 2 if this is bigger than a 2, which it automatically would be. And this could just be a run of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or something like that. But there are some other, look, this row, 5, we've got 5s in these 2 positions, so we can say the same thing for those squares. Oh, actually there are some more. Now look at this. Oh, now that is interesting. That is very interesting. So look at what Laura's done here. I think finally, 11 minutes in, I've made a little bit of a breakthrough, because now look, if we know there is a 1 either here or here, and the same must be true of column 3 here, there must be a 1 here or here, then we know there cannot be 1s in any of these positions. Now we've got the same thing going on in row 3 and row 7. So there cannot be 1s in any of these positions. And in fact, we can obviously rule out all of these squares as well. And whichever way round these 1s go, there must be a 1 in either this square or this square in this box. And the same is true for each of the boxes, because the 1s will impact on each other. Now that means that we're going to be able to actually, there can't be 1s there, there can't be 1s here. We can't say anything about the middle, but look, if we look at these open white squares here, we're going to be able to say there must be 1s in those positions. Right, now does that matter? Yes, it does, because now look, if we look from this direction, how do we make a 2 the first hidden skyscraper if this square is a 1? It's impossible, because this digit will have to be higher than a 1 and a 2, so let's say that's a 3. So if I put a 1 there, the 1 is the first hidden skyscraper. It can't be. The same is true there. That square is a 1. That square is a 1 for exactly the same reason. Oh, look, this is very clever. Look, there's a 1. I'm sure this is deliberate in each of, look here, 1 here and 1 here. So these squares are 1s. And now that must be a 1, I think, just because of the way these 1s are interacting. Now, how do we sort out anything extra? This, obviously that square can be anything. So 1 in one of those 2 positions. It seems unlikely it would be this one, just because this 1 is so far away. But unfortunately, something being unlikely doesn't mean that it's definitely not the case. So Ah, hang on. So if... Oh, hang on. No, do hang on. Look. There's something going on here. Look, we've got a 2 here and a 2 here. And I think we might be able to make some progress. Let me just think about this, because if this square is a 1, let's just look at that. If this square is a 1, then we know this square has to be a 1. Now, we've got a 2 here and a 2 here. So how can the first hidden skyscraper in this column be a 2? It would force this square to be a 2. And similarly down here, that square has to be a 2. But if we look at this column and this column, we've got these 4s arranged. Now we don't... Oh, this is very clever. Oh, yes. Because look, if we do this and these are 1s, then this will be a 1 and this will be a 1. But now let's have a look at these 4 columns. Where does the 2 go? Now, we know that the first hidden skyscraper from both directions is a 4. So once we place the 1, we know the 2 must either be here or here. And similarly, in this column, the 2 must either be here or here. Now, look, none of that is possible. These 2s rule out every single yellow square. So actually, this is not right. This is definitely not right. This square cannot be a 1. This is a 1. Oops. Therefore, that's a 1. That's a 1. This must be a 1, and this must be a 1. Yes, and now we've done all the 1s. And we know, let's just have a look at the 2s immediately here, because the 2s must be in one of these squares. They must be in one of these squares, in one of those squares, and in... So the 2s must be in this sort of pattern. Let's label those. So if this is a 2, this is a 2, this is a 2, and this is a 2. So what can we tell now? Sorry, you may be seeing this much, much more quickly than I am. Hang on. This 2 is... Yes, this 2 gives us something, because where can the 2 be in column 5? We know the first hidden skyscraper is a 2. Therefore, it must come before the 1. Because if it comes after the 1 will be the first hidden skyscraper. So the 2 is in one of those 2 squares. It can't be here, obviously, because otherwise it wouldn't be hidden. So, look now, we've got the same... We've locked 2 to the same 2 rows of the grid in 2 different 3x3 blocks. So there is no way I can make this square a 2. If this square is a 2, the implication is that that square is a 2 and that square is a 2. We get a repeated 2 in row 8. So this is not a 2 and this is a 2. 2. That must be a 2 now, because this one can't be. Similarly here, similarly here. And that gives us that one, which gives us that one. Must be a 2 in one of those squares, 2 in one of these squares, and a 2 in one of those 3 squares. Now you'll see I've actually pencil marked 3 different squares there because I just think I'm going to need to keep track of everything here. This is so difficult. Now, what do we do next? So now maybe we look at 3s. The 3s must be in one of these squares. And similarly there. So, we get this arrangement of 3s now. Okay, so let's label that. There must be 3s in these squares. So we can see again, if the 3 is here, this will be a 3. If the 3 is here, this will be a 3. So we now know these extremities must contain a 3. Holy moly. This is really embarrassing. I'm so sorry. What am I meant to do now? The problem is, I mean, even when you know that this 2 is the first hidden skyscraper, there's so much flexibility in these 2 digits here. I don't think I've ever felt so completely nonplussed by a puzzle on the channel. 22 minutes in, I've not even... Okay, I got another digit, I think. Let's have a look at where can a 5 go here in this row. So again, with this 1 sitting in the middle of the row, if I try and put a 5 to the left hand side of this 1, the 1 will always have had to be the first hidden skyscraper, so this clue would be broken. So we know the 5 actually is in one of these 3 squares, and it can never be on the far right, otherwise it would just be seen, it wouldn't be hidden. So the 5 is in one of those 2 squares. But I think we can do exactly the same logic with the column, can't we? Because again, we've got the 1 sitting in the middle of the row, so I know the 5 comes earlier, therefore it must be in one of these 3 squares, and the only place that those 2 conditions marry up, look, is in this square. So I think that square has to be a 5. This square has to be 6, 7, 8 or 9. I'm going to notate that. And so does that one. Oh, down here I've got the same thing. I should have expected this. Laura, she puts things symmetrically. So look, 5's here. So that's also the ones, further up the columns and the rows. So that's a 5 as well. Exactly the same logic as up there. So now the 5 must be in one of those squares. And down here, the 5 must be in one of those squares. Now, I'm just wondering, are we going to be able to use Oh, yeah, maybe this one. So now the 5 can't be in either of those positions. And we know I'm just wondering if we can use the interaction here of this 4 clue, because the 4 clue we know we must keep putting the lowest digit we haven't yet placed sort of in the next position. So if this is a 3, the implication of that, I think, as this can't be a 5, is that this would have to be a 4. So it would have to go 3, 4, and then that would have to be, that would have to be a 5, which would repeat the 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, that is something. Look at that. Let me just do the logic there again. So if we look down this column whatever this is, column 7, we know this is one of these weird columns where wherever we put the 4, it has to have a continuous string of increasing numbers from both sides that hit it. So we know that once we decide where the 3 goes, everything becomes incredibly restricted. We now have big restrictions on the possible positions of the 4s and the 5s. Either this square is a 5 or it's a 4. Now it can't be a 5 if this is a 3, so it would have to be a 4. And now where does the 5 go? In order to preserve that the first hidden skyscraper from this direction is a 4, the 5 has to go as close as possible to the 2, because it's the next highest number we've not yet placed, and it can't because there's a 5 there. So this square cannot be a 3, so this is a 3, this is a 3. 2, 3. And that's going to give us some more 3s, isn't it? That means this is a 3, this is a 3. Is that all the 3s I'm going to get? I think it might be. That's annoying. But on this, that can't possibly be a 6, because the first hidden skyscraper from this direction is a 6, and there's a 1 there. So that's not a 6. And in fact, where can the 6 go? The 6 can never go to the right of the 2, so the 6 must be here, because it can't be in the first position. So this is a 6. That worked. So this is a 7, 8, or a 9, because we know that the first hidden skyscraper in this column is a 6, so this must be a bigger number. This must be a 7, 8, or a 9, because it must be bigger than a 5, and it can't be a 6. Now I feel like I should be able to do something with this column now, because I've still not placed the 5, and I know that the 5 cannot go here, so the 5 must go here. Because if it doesn't go here, the only digit that can go here is a 4, isn't it? I just want to double check that, because I don't want to make a mistake. No, this can never be a 4, because it would never be the first hidden skyscraper, so maybe that is incorrect logic. So if the 5 is not here, and this cannot be a 4, it must be a 5. That's a 5. That puts a 5 into one of those squares, 5 into one of these squares, and now this could be a 4, but it needn't be. In fact, it probably is going to be a 4, looking at this 4 on the right, isn't it? But this can't be a 4. So this square has to be a 7, 8, or a 9, because it can't be a 6 because of this 6. Now it could be a 9, couldn't it? Because if it's a 9, this could still be a 4, and then this could be 6, 7, 8. Oh, goodness me. But that, where can we put a 4 along this row? We can't put one here, because then this 6 wouldn't be the first hidden skyscraper. So we must put the 4 here. So this is a 7, 8, or a 9. Where does the 7 go in this row? It can't go here, or the 3, because the 3 isn't hiding it. So the 7 must go here. That's the only position it can go into. That means that's not a 7 at the top there. This square, that's interesting. So we've got to put a 4 in here as the first hidden skyscraper. So this could still be anywhere. But this must be an 8 or a 9 in order that it's lower than or bigger than a 7. This square must be a 6, 8, or 9. That one can't be a 3 because we've already got a 3 placed. 7, 2, 3, 5. Now, so in this row, we know the 4 is in one of those 2 squares. And in this row, look, we can make more progress now, because we know I can't put a 4 here, or the 5 is not the first hidden skyscraper, so the 4 must be here. Sorry, I think that's been hanging there for a while and I didn't spot it. So now this has to be a 6, 8, or a 9. And this must be 6, 7, 8, or 9 in these 3 squares. But that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it's not possible for this to be a 9. Otherwise, this square would be the first hidden skyscraper. So we actually can limit this a bit. This must be a 6 or a 7. This can't be a 6. I don't think it can be a 9. And then this has to be an 8 or a 9. 8, 9. So if this is a 6, this would be 7, 8, 9. If this is an 8, it would be 6, 8, 9. If this is a 9, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay, that all looks sensible to me. Now, this 7 means there's a 7 in one of those 2 squares. So there's a 7 in one of these 2 squares, which we knew already, to be honest, but it's just a different way of saying it. This square here must be still a load of possibilities. That's a 6, 8, or a 9. So where does a 4 go along here now? It can only go there. Now this can no longer be a 3. Because obviously it must be bigger than a 4. Every digit is like a massive struggle. Must be a 4 in one of these 2 squares. I think I've got to go back to using, these positions here again. Because whatever this is, 6, 8, or a 9, the 5 must always be here. Because if the 5 is anywhere else, it will be the first hidden skyscraper in this direction. So that's me being slow again. 5. 5's over here. Yeah, it's very symmetrical, isn't it? And in fact, you can see with this 6, 8, 9 here, we're going to get the identical pattern of these 3 squares into these squares here, I think. 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9. Now, I just wonder whether we can... This can't possibly be a 2, can it? If this is a 2, how does this 6 clue work? Because if this is a 2, we know this must be bigger than a 2, so the first hidden skyscraper would be a 2. So this is a 2. Therefore, that's a 2. Okay, again, me being slightly slow, but I hope you'll forgive me. This is not the easiest puzzle I've ever done in my life. I tell you one thing I would like with our software, which we will implement at some point, and that's an ability to score off these outside clues once you've used them. It's there in the classic Sudoku and the Sandwich Sudoku app. Well, the Sandwich Sudoku app, where we have outside digits, but it's not. We haven't yet implemented it in the web interface. Now, this can't be a 4, can it? Because then this wouldn't be the first hidden skyscraper. So that's a 4. Therefore, this is a 4. This must be a 4. This can't be a 4. It would be the that's been hanging there as well. 6, 8, 9 here. Okay, so now we can't make this a 5, or this would be the first hidden skyscraper, would be the 4. So we know this is a lower digit than a 4, so it must be a 3 because we've already got a 1 and a 2 here. And I bet you I could do there was something over here that was the same point, wasn't there? Oh, I'm not sure, maybe I'm misremembering. This can't be a 3. This can't be a 3. Therefore, this must be a 3. Now there must be a 3 in one of these 2 squares. First hidden skyscraper, so this can't be a 5. And in fact, this must be a number lower than a 4, otherwise the 4 will be the first hidden skyscraper, and the only digit available is the 3. This is not a 3, that's not a 3, so this is a 3, this is a 3. Right, okay, so now this can't be the 6, so the 6 must be in one of these 2 squares. Six, 7, 8, 9 here. Again, this can never be a 9 in the corner because otherwise we need a number lower than a 9 into that position. So I need a digit, this one for example. Okay, this has to be bigger than a 4. There's loads of options for it. This has got to be bigger than a 4, and again there's loads of options for it. There must be a spot where I can use one of these outside clues to make more progress. This square has to be a 7, 8, 9. Ah yes, these 3 squares are important, but they're going to work the same way as these, aren't they? So in fact, this is better than that because we know there must be a 6 in this row, and therefore the 6 must go there. This must be a 7 or an 8, and this must be an 8 or a 9, because we know the 6 must be the smallest number to keep increasing the skyscrapers. So now, can we do anything with that? Yes, as we've locked a 6 into one of those squares, this must be the 6. Therefore, this is not a 6. This is the 6. This is not a 6. Therefore, this is a 6 looking at it. So we've suddenly made a little bit of progress. Six must be in one of these squares. 40 minutes. 40 minutes, I still feel like every digit is a struggle. Now, let's look at this column though. I think I can do stuff with this. Yes, I can. I should have spotted this before as well. Again, we can't have a 6 up here because I need this to be strictly increasing. So these can't be a 6. This is the 6. So this must be 7, 8. This must be 8, 9. That gives us 7, 8 pair look in the central row of the grid. So we still need to place 5, 6 and 9 into the open square. So this is a 5 or a 9. So I've used this one, I've used this one, I think I've used 8, 9 pair there. Is that right? Yes, because this can't be a 7, so this is the 7. Therefore that's an 8, that's a 9, that's a 7. This is, that must be a 7 in the corner there. What an incredible design this is as well. I mean, imagine having to come up with this, to go through the logic, to have the ideas to create this sort of initial pattern on the ones. I mean, it's breathtakingly clever. I just wish it didn't make me feel like such a dullard. It's right, so these two squares have got to be 5 and 7 in some order. So let's put those in. I don't see a way of resolving that yet. 8, 9. This must be, these two squares are 5, 8 or 9. Now is there any way of restricting which is which? I'm sure there is, but I'm not seeing it. So again, let's go back to these key rows and columns. I think it's these. Maybe this one. That's very restricted now. We need 5, 7 and 8 into those positions. This can't be a 6. There it is. Sorry, that was me being slow because look, 3, 4, it's increasing. That must be a 7. That's an 8. That's a 9. Therefore, the 6 is down there. Now, this must be a 7. This is not a 7. That gives us an 8, 9 pair there. Five, 8, 9 into these squares. This is not a 7. The 7 must be here actually because we've actually locked those 7s in. That resolves the top. That's good. 7, 5, 8. 9, 8, 9. Maybe I finally cracked it. Oops, I nearly made a mistake. 8, 9. This should be a 9. 9, 8. These two squares can't be 9. 8, 8. This must be an 8. 5. This square must be a 5, therefore, because I've not got a 5 in that row. This must be a 6. 8, 5, 5, 9. I want to put 6 in and check. Oh, thank goodness. What a puzzle that is. 45 minutes. I'm not that sorry. I didn't have a digit in the grid for, well, it was well over 10 minutes before I put a pencil mark in. That is absolutely amazing puzzle, but incredibly hard. Good warm-up for me for tomorrow's Times Crossword Championship. I think my brain will be utterly exhausted now, certainly when it comes to Sudoku logic. Thank you very much to Laura. I'm going to be fascinated to hear how you guys got on with that and whether or not there are any quick solves out there. And we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.